Start. Hi. Start it. Okay. Don't laugh. You laugh. I will laugh. And I was told to smile more in front of the screen, so I have to smile. Yeah. And now I'm gonna taste the sauce. Whoa. Let's do it again. Hi, welcome back to Cooking with Chef Sawarto, and today we're going to do a very nice, simple hawker fare. It's a classic, we call it the Singapore Hokkien noodles. It can be found in Malaysia as well. So this is a street food and it's one of everyone's favorite, but today we're going to bring it to another level with a different twist. We're going to use Boston lobster, or we call it the Maine Lobster. Okay, so we're going to show you what are the ingredients we're going to work with. It's very straightforward. You can buy all of this, at your nearest supermarket, and you can always substitute with prawns or other types of seafood if you can't find lobster. But these are some very nice ingredients that we're going to work with today. So I've got a piece of pork belly. For those of you who are watching and you don't eat, you don't consume pork, you can always omit this and use chicken instead. But try not to use beef because the flavor tends to overpower the whole noodles when you braise them. So pork or chicken, or you can even use fish if you want to, it's okay. Right, so this is a piece of pork belly over here. We're just going to cut them into strips and we're going to fry them and render the fat out. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep the skin, right? That's how they do it traditionally. So now we've sliced the pork and we're just going to render it inside a hot pan, or you can use a hot wok, it's up to you. Don't add any oil because you want it to kind of let it caramelize a little bit, render out the fat so it tastes better when you do that. So just remember hot pan, no oil, remember that. Okay, so just move them, spread them apart so it's well distributed. Make sure you give a bit of color. Okay, so how do you tell whether it's ready? Alright, just turn it around and then you see whether there's a nice browning, or we call this browning the caramelization. Okay. Now don't let it brown too much. If not, it's gonna burn and then it's gonna be very bitter. Good flavors. So there are two types of Hokkien Mee, or we call Hokkien noodles. One is the classic ones, which is very popular in Singapore. It's the yellow noodles and the thick rice bee hoon, and you cook them with seafood stock, minced sprout and everything. And then there's another version which is also quite popular. In fact, in Malaysia, you can find all of this in both countries. So the one in Malaysia is a bit more, more brownish in color, more dark soy sauce based, and not so much of the ingredients you see inside. It's a thicker yellow noodles is how to cook. Here we mix both noodles together. So with this nice browning of the pork, I'm going to set this aside. Just be careful, don't let it sizzle and then you hurt yourself from here. Okay, so with the same wok, you do not want to remove the oil because all the flavors are in there, right? So I have a lobster here. We're going to just color them inside. So I'm going to just put additional cooking oil inside. And then, look at this nice lovely lobster. It's going to face, the flesh, right? The open flesh part here, right down. So it gives a good searing, call this the pan roasting. Right, you don't want to overcook the lobster, so make sure you control the heat well. Once it's kind of half cooked, you take them away, okay? If not, you end up with very rubbery lobster, which can be quite disappointing. Just put the claws in as well. A lot of people will ask me this question. Chef, how do you know whether the lobster is cooked? By the color. But we're not going to fully cook it. Usually a cooked lobster, one fully cooked lobster, it takes you about 5 minutes. Right? So, but like I said, it depends on the heat. Oh, it's still flickering. The lobster is alive. Okay, you can see this flickering part of the lobster. Don't panic, it's just, it's dead already, okay? It's just the leftover nerve reacting, okay? Okay, you just want to get a bit of nice flavors in there, just slightly grill them, okay? And then I'll just set them aside. So with the same wok, remember not to wash them, okay? It's very important. Same wok, we have some garlic, put them in. Okay, add a touch of oil, fry them. This is where you put in the pork belly, every last drop. Okay, with a nice color, okay, you're gonna drizzle in the chicken stock. I've used some chicken stock, you can use pork stock, up to you. I've got some prawn stock as well, right? Then I want to bring this to a boil. So you just want to simmer this because you want to get the infusion, the pork, the stock, garlic, and then the lobster together. You can do it in any sequence. You can start with the lobster first, the pork first, right? But I want to make sure that the pork belly is well cooked and tender, and then we will put in the lobster, okay? I want to face the shell downwards so all the roll will give that extra flavor, okay, to the stock. So now there's always this question, if you don't have prawn stock, you don't have pork stock, you don't have the lobster stock, it doesn't matter, you can just get chicken stock, alright? So I want you to try this at home or anywhere that you're staying at, so it's really easy for you to make, okay? Right, so just simmer this, alright, just for a few 1-2 minutes, and then we're going to pour everything out again, right, because we're going to fry the noodles, then everything will just braise together, okay? Don't overcook this, because this is, I just want to really keep it partially cooked. All this out again. Right, so now we're going to do the final process, very straightforward. We're just going to crack some eggs, and then we're going to scramble them, right? Make sure when you start cooking, everything is hot. Okay, a lot of you will cook with a lot of you will cook with very cold pan. And then you just want to just scramble this. See, just half cooked. See all the lobster rolls inside, and then you want to pour in all of this, the noodles, right? The squid. We've got squid. If you don't like squid, you can always pass on the squid, right? Keep the spring onions and the bean sprout last because they cook very, very easily, okay? So now I just want to kind of just saute them a little bit, right? So they kind of mix together. I'm going to scramble the eggs a little bit here. Should break the eggs apart. And then remember the whole pot of the braise, just pour them in, all the stock. This has to go in, okay? This is very, very important, right? And make sure that all the stock are well absorbed by the noodles. Okay, this is how Hokkien Mee works. Again, I like to face the lobster down. It's all the roll. I want the roll and all the flavors to go into the noodles. Now, it's optional. I put in some black pepper. Some people like white pepper. You can do with white pepper. I like a bit of kick of spice. And then here, fish sauce. Okay, any type of fish sauce that you like. And basically, that's it. Let's continue to let this simmer. Alright, it's braising very beautifully, okay? Okay, I want to share something. The noodles has to be really braised for a good, perhaps 5 to 10 minutes, until there's this flavor of the noodles together with the stock is well infused. That one is very critical. So you have that nice hawker style, Hokkien Mee kind of flavor. So it's very important. Okay. So if you dish it up now, it's not gonna happen, right? The taste. But a lot of people will say, hey, it's gonna overcook everything, but that's how Hokkien Mee is, right? It's slightly overcooked, over braised, okay? Now the lobster is almost cooked, so I like to have my lobster around 90% cooked. I don't overcook it. So I'll remove the lobster now, okay? So because if you continue letting the whole pot braise, then it's goodbye to everything, okay? So take out the lobster, right? So the claws, they're ready. Wait. So for the squid as well as cooked, I'll remove it. If not, alright? Everything will be overcooked and very rubbery and chewy. So now you can see, just trying to make sure that all the liquid is well absorbed, right? This is the part where you need a little bit more patience, right? See, the noodle is thickening up on its own, right, with the sauce, and this is where the amazing flavor is going to happen, okay? So I'm just trying to continue letting this whole thing braise gently. If it's too fast, reduce the heat, because if you let it braise too fast, you won't get the nice flavor, right? So make sure you stir, okay? You can see everything here is well thickened up. You can see that, the sauce, amazing. Wow, in Hokkien we say, "Wow, si bei ho jia." So now we're going to taste the noodles, the sauce. Wow, it's very, very good. It's very different from the normal, prawn Hokkien Mee, because we are using lobster shell. So it has a very, very unique and special taste to it. It just brings it up to another level. This is almost ready, but sometimes if you feel that it's not soft enough, you can always add more water, okay? I'm just going to add a bit more water because I want it really nicely braised. I'm going to give it a final stir. There you go. Just before we dress this up, we're going to put in the bean sprout and the spring onions. Traditionally, they use chives, right? But today I just can't find any chives, so I'll use spring onions. Okay, it works as well. And I prepared some sambal chili. Any kind of sambal chili that you want to buy, you can make on your own. You can text me personally if you want a sambal chili recipe, right? And then we have calamansi lime here, or some people call it the kasturi. Okay, so this will give you extra touch to your Hokkien Mee. Right, so now you know it's drying up. It's where you put in your bean sprout and your spring onion. And remember, don't overcook them. You just want it to infuse. Great, we're done. Okay, so we're going to dress this up together. So just going to put everything in. Just kind of warm it up as we go. Right, give it a final stir, and then we're going to dress them nicely, okay?